What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Great news. Pierre Poilievre yesterday announcing something huge when it comes to taxation, when it comes to more platform promises for Canadians. Now, Pierre has been absolutely knocking it out of the park lately when he's been talking about the tax cut he's going to make to income tax up to 15%. He's talked about how he's going to look after seniors to make sure that the first, I believe, $34,000 of income every year is going to be tax free. Well, now Pierre is saying he's going to slash government and NGOs and programs even further and protect people from future taxes. This has been one of the most important questions going into this election that I've had, at least, and that was Pierre's making some pretty big promises. How is he going to fulfill those promises without increasing taxes somewhere? Somewhere. Because the money, when you look at our deficit, when you look at the spending that's going to have to go into place, it's going to have to come from somewhere. You can't just promise people free money like Justin Trudeau and then not have the money to pay for it. Now, Poilievre has also, before I can already hear people jumping down my throats, he has also said that he was going to save $1 for each time $1 is spent. And rightfully so, he has talked about eliminating wasteful government spending. One of the best things he said in many interviews as of late is that he wants to run a government, not your life. He wants to push policy that's going to benefit Canadians. This is why I believe that despite the polls, despite how things are looking, we're still ready for a giant blue wave across Canada. Despite other politicians already saying that Carney is going to win. We've seen this in the United States, folks. Call me optimistic. I'm still a little optimistic. I want to share to you today the new announcement coming out and what it means for Canadians. Before we do that, I want to encourage you all to please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. This channel has already been censored. In fact, we've been struck by YouTube on videos for Mark Carney to be told that, hey, we don't like the information you're putting out. To a certain extent, I'm not going to get into it, but if you can, if you're enjoying the content, hit the subscribe button, join the channel. Suppression is getting worse and worse as we get into the election. If Mark Carney wins this election, we could lose this channel altogether. Your support costs nothing, means everything. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on your bell for all notifications so you don't miss anything that drops on the channel. Follow every Canadian political content creator that you watch on this platform. It means the world to them, means the world to me. Let's move forward with today's story. Franco Terrazzano of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, at the time of filming this video, just released this video clip. Big shout out to CB Fixes All, one of my great community members, also a personal friend of mine. He does a lot in the background to help out with the content that comes out of this channel. Great friend. So shout out to CB for that. Let's take a look here at what Franco Terrazzano had to say. Poilievre promises taxpayer protection law. No new taxes or tax hikes without a referendum. This is great news for you, and it is great news. Because again, the question came in of how is Poilievre going to fulfill all of his obligations without introducing new tax? My fears have now shrunk significantly with him saying that it's going to happen only with a referendum. This is bad news for big spending politicians and bureaucrats that want to hike your taxes and waste your money. Let's take a look at what is said here, and then we'll break it down. Let's go.
Well, folks, this is big. Pierre Poilievre just announced that a conservative government would put in a Taxpayer Protection Act, okay? So what is a Taxpayer Protection Act? It means that the federal government would not be able to impose new taxes or tax hikes without a referendum first. It is big. Now, folks, I'm just sitting here in the passenger seat. We're all parked, so I figured I'd go on a big of a rant because this is big news, right? Poilievre just promised to put in a Taxpayer Protection Act, meaning no new taxes, no tax hikes without a referendum first. Now, this is great news for you. It gives more power back to the people, more power back to you. And this is bad news for the big spending politicians and government bureaucrats that want to hike your taxes and waste more of your money. Now, folks, I don't need to tell you, but over the years, recent years, we have seen the federal government impose massive new taxes and massive tax hikes, right? Payroll tax hikes, carbon tax hikes, alcohol tax hikes, a new luxury tax. The government imposed a digital services tax, an online streaming tax. The government tried to impose an undemocratic and illegal capital gains tax increase. And you know, the government is sniffing around for a home equity tax.
What's funny is when all that is mentioned, when you look at the capital gains tax, keep in mind that while Parliament was prorogued and no bill was formally passed, Revenue Canada said they still intended to collect on a tax that isn't even law yet. So what's good here is that Pierre is putting a stop to the pigs at the trough. He's putting a stop to people stealing money out of your pockets with this announcement. It's fantastic. It gets even better, folks.
Now, okay, Canadians are tapped out and the government doesn't need any more money from Canadians. So Poilievre's Taxpayer Protection Act is a big deal for Canadians who are fed up with governments hiking your taxes and wasting your money. And you know that politicians love to run during election campaigns. They love to say, oh, don't worry, folks, we're not going to hike your taxes. And then what happens after the election? Well, they start looking for more of your money. And we have seen that happen many times in the past where governments don't run on tax increases, then they get into office and they hike your taxes. Here's just a couple of examples, right? So BC, the BC government, before it brought in its carbon tax, didn't run on a carbon tax. The same thing happened with the Alberta NDP. Didn't mention a carbon tax in the election prior, then they brought in a provincial carbon tax. And of course, the same thing happened with the Liberal government in Ontario and their carbon tax. And you know, think back all the way to the 2019 federal election. Just before the 2019 election, then Environment Minister Catherine McKenna said the government had no intention of raising the carbon tax beyond 2022. What happened just after the election? Well, after the election, Trudeau then revealed that he would hike carbon taxes year after year after year. So all too often, politicians promise not to raise your taxes, then they get elected and they hammer you with big tax increases.
What's really funny about that statement is that when you look at Mark Carney reducing the carbon tax to zero, keep in mind this was just to get through the election. Everybody knows this is just to get through the election. For any of the sheeple that think, oh, Mark Carney got rid of the carbon tax, it's not coming back, we're not going to see it on our bills, this is a temporary pause. What do you think is going to happen if Mark Carney wins this election? What do you think is going to happen with carbon taxes? You think they won't show up anymore on your bills? Think again. They're coming back if Carney wins.
So, you know, Poilievre is right. Taxpayers need protection from money-hungry politicians and money-hungry government bureaucrats, especially when the debt is more than $1 trillion, especially when governments are running billions of dollars of deficits. And Poilievre is also right. Look, if politicians want to take more money from you, then they should be forced to ask you first in a referendum. And look, all politicians, they should be focused on cutting spending, not hiking your taxes, not looking for new ways to take more of your money.
So, what's happening? Franco's got a lot of points here, a lot of good points. Regardless of what happens here, Poilievre promising this, if Poilievre gets in as prime minister, this is great. It's great news. This is the reason why I just don't understand how day-to-day Canadians that are still struggling with their food prices, that are still struggling with gasoline prices, that still struggle to put a roof over their heads or to even save up to buy a home. How are you still supporting Mark Carney when he did not get rid of the carbon tax, but rather reduced it? When you can see the pattern of typical political lies, and these are political lies that could come from any party. What Pierre has announced today is a failsafe for Canadians. He's talking about protecting Canadians by bringing back the democratic process for us to decide our future, not the government. This again falls in line and in step with Pierre's statements that he's not interested in controlling our lives. He's interested in controlling a government, in running a government. That government is now going to ask the people if they agree with the spending of the government, and if they don't, then nothing moves forward. It's veto. This is the best possible outcome for Canadians, and another reason I think that Pierre has absolutely destroyed this election process. He should be ahead by at least 20 points in my mind at this point in time. However, the polls say otherwise. There's a lot of trickery afoot, folks. Don't believe the polls. Hopefully, that blue wave is incoming. Hopefully, these are the kind of days we're going to see as Canada moves forward. Let me know what you think down below. Do you agree with Pierre offering the idea of a referendum for any new taxes? Do you think that Mark Carney will raise the carbon tax after the election if he remains as Prime Minister? Let me know your thoughts down below. If it's your first time here, again, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Make sure, again, turn on your bell for all notifications while you're hitting that button so you don't miss a beat between now and Election Day, everything that's going to be going on between now and then. Join me Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, our weekly live streaming show, where I'm joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe as we talk about everything that's happened this week in politics, everything we know that's coming up in the week ahead, as well as back and forth within the greatest YouTube community on the entire platform, full stop. I look forward to speaking with you guys each and every week to hear what you have to say outside of making these videos. I look most forward to hearing what you're going to have to say this Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.